Hello and good day. This is Punchline, and we are First News Nation. On Punchline, of course, we discuss national politics, and this is First News Nation TV. Thank you very much for joining us. As usual, we encourage you to join us on all our social media handles: Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn at First News Nation. Go ahead and follow us. Enable notifications on all these platforms so we have a new episode for you every time you log into the internet on any of these platforms I mentioned that you use. I am Sammy Ajufo. Thank you for joining us. Of course, you know the political discussion in Nigeria today is about one man from Bauchi State and his 3-month suspension. We're also going to tell you how many senators has been suspended since 1999, the return to democracy. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll talk about Senator Ningi and the supposed 3 trillion naira padded budget. Welcome back. It's still Punchline, and here on First News Nation TV, we're discussing national politics. And the latest story happening in Nigeria today is about the Red Chamber, the Senate. This time is not about the Senate president at anyone's burial, discussing who is receiving more applause than he is. Neither is it about Rivers State, neither is it about any other state. It's about the Senate. Again, not too long ago, we discussed how the Senate were receiving 160 million naira each, around that figure, for SUV vehicles. Another time, we talked about the Senate and the over how many trillion naira in terms of ways and means, 30 trillion naira, and how that conversation is still on the table. 30 trillion naira is still on the table, and the senators are discussing who stole what. Another time it was, you were there, I wasn't there. And then not too long after, we talk about the Senate also discussing whether to bring states like Lagos and states like Anambra into the NDDC. Senate has actually been very active. Let's not forget about the Senator, Jarigbe, Agum Jarigbe, who also disclosed recently that every senator, ranking senator, got 500 million naira for constituency project. It was not a revelation about whether they got 500 million per ranking senator. The problem seems to be that he did not get the money. So that was the problem. This time around, it's not about any of those things. It's about one man who stood up and said that the 2024 budget has a lot of loopholes. Now, he started this off at a BBC Hausa interview where I must state that most times, I'm not trying to be tribalistic right now, whenever it comes to interviews in Hausa language, especially in politicians, it becomes very controversial because their voice notes and their interviews become controversial when it hits the public space. This time around, it was Senator Abdul Ningi of the PDP representing Bauchi Central. And then he made a statement about the 2024 budget, and then there were some allegations that he made against him, that he was discussing how Tinubu was skewing the policies against the North. Another time was about the 25 trillion naira appropriation bill and how they didn't know what was where. And then he said that the Senate had approved the budget and there was 3 trillion naira added to the budget that had no source. It had no item. 3 trillion naira. That sent shockwaves into the Nigerian space. Nigerians have been looking for how to survive, looking at the price, the dollar price, and then the government is chasing after Binance. And now we're hearing a story from Senator Abdul Ningi. Now, he went ahead with this conversation, and then we had Bayo Onanuga, the president's spokesperson, who disclosed that in the passage of the bill, it was not 3 trillion naira. It was not 3 trillion. It was about 1-point-something trillion that was added to the already existing 28 trillion naira budget. And it was the Senate that added that money. He was defending what was alleged by Senator Ningi. Senator Ningi now had a press conference and made a statement. Watch this video.
If it is a cross I have to carry, I'll carry it. I'm not afraid of anything. Anything. I believe in one God, and I believe power is transient. I believe what we are doing, all of us, is temporary. I'm not scared of whatever you hear. I'm not scared of any issue like suspension. I've been out of the Senate for 8 years. and people had to force me back. It's not an issue. Some of our friends were removed by tribunals. They're living their lives. If because I said what I would say, if because I said what I said, then I'll be suspended. So please be it. It will be an honor. And for me to be suspended by whatever body was speaking as a parliamentarian, it will be a very great honor. I say we have established very reasonable doubt about 25 trillion so far has nexus in the budget. That means there is money, and then there is project, and then there is location. Money, project, location. But we are yet to ascertain 3 trillion of that budget. We have established the 3 trillion in the budget. We have not established its location.
And after that video Senator Ningi released, it sent shockwaves again across the political space. Ningi was reported to have said that they didn't know where the 3 trillion naira came from and that it was unaccounted for. In the video we just watched, he said he doesn't care if he gets suspended by the Senate. He said he's going to speak his mind, and he did. Later on, Senator Jimoh Ibrahim from Ondo State had come out angrily to say that everything that Ningi said was a lie, and that he would ask the Inspector General of Police to arrest Ningi for his allegations.
Senator Ningi should be charged for criminal negligence, misinformation, as well as conduct likely going to cause breach national peace of Nigeria. So these two charges must come. Let me tell you, it's not about anybody. If the president of the Senate decides to do nothing, no problem. I will send my letter to the IGP. If IGP decides to do nothing, I will bring a motion for mandamus, compelling a public officer to perform that job that he has to do. These charges will happen, whether you like it or not.
Well, that was going on. It is whether there is 3 trillion naira actually added to the budget or there is none. Of course, you know that because of the recent allegations of money here, money there, especially ascribed to the Senate, especially ascribed to the Bola Tinubu administration, they don't want another extra scandal. They're still looking for how to sort out the problems that came after the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. They're still looking for how to sort out the problems that have come out of many scandalous allegations or revelations that have happened since President Tinubu became president. Almost every week is an allegation, whether it's at the state level or at the federal level. Now, Senator Ningi had been to Arise TV for an interview, and he said he was not misquoted. He said he was misrepresented. You go ahead and check out the dictionary as to what the definition is. I really don't care. But he made strong allegations and said that even if the budget was whatever, his problem is that many senators don't even know the outline of the budget. They just passed the budget they didn't understand. And the Northern Senators Forum were in the forefront of discussing that. If you look at what Senator Kawu said, he brought out some provisions in the budget they passed and said they didn't understand some provisions. So what happened? It's almost the same way people are asking the question when President Tinubu came to present the budget to the Senate. Remember, people said he came with an empty box. So the senators had passed a budget very quickly for 2024, over 28 trillion naira. And in that budget, most of the senators say they don't know what is in the budget. So his grouse was he didn't know what was in the budget, and they passed the budget. Watch this video.
The spokesman of the president, Bayo Onanuga, said the National Assembly actually added 1.27 trillion. That is what we are trying to establish.
Was that done in the open, within the Senate chamber?
Exactly, that's what we are trying to do. Mm-hmm. If we have an addition, among other things, of the National Assembly budget, is it not my prerogative to know, as a sitting senator? Is it not the prerogative of Nigerians to also know? So if I don't know, and other people don't know.
Senator Ningi, sorry to cut you there. Are you saying the release by Bayo Onanuga, where he actually specifically said that it was tinkered and in its wisdom, in his words, it was increased by over 1.7 trillion, you were not aware as a sitting senator?
I'm not aware of the figures, and I am not aware where those figures are going for and what for. We passed the budget without the details.
Well, it's now a back and forth between the executive and the legislature. 28 trillion naira had been passed by the National Assembly for the 2024 appropriation bill. Now, 9.9 trillion naira was budgeted for recurrent expenditure, 8.2 trillion naira was recorded for debt servicing, and for capital expenditure, 8.7 trillion. Have you understood that we've come to a point in Nigeria where we don't talk about thousands anymore? We don't talk about millions anymore. We don't talk about billions anymore. We are now in the era of trillions. The word trillion is going to become common state. Very soon you hear one permanent secretary, one local government chairman stole 6 trillion. And then you look at what a trillion is. A trillion, let's not get depressed. Let's not get depressed. So what they are spending for the year 2024, about 27.5 trillion. Bayo Onanuga made this statement saying that Tinubu signed 28.7 trillion naira into law January 2024, passed by National Assembly, that the National Assembly added an extra 1.2 trillion. That means that Bayo Onanuga is accusing the National Assembly of padding the budget. Let's not lie. Let's not try and sweep anything under the carpet. What is being claimed is that the budget has been padded. No matter how you want to put it, in any language you want to put it, that is what Bayo Onanuga is saying. This same Bayo Onanuga again, the same Bayo Onanuga that said that the federal government is going to be suing Binance for $10 billion. He came out to retract his statement. Someone should tell Bayo Onanuga to relax. Tell him to calm down. Because you see, this is becoming a problem. Abdul Ningi was replying to Bayo Onanuga in a press conference, and he had to go further and further. Now, what is the general conversation? That the Senate had sat, and after an extensive, because it was so different for me, how you sit in a room among your peers and they are deciding your fate. Eventually, it was proposed that Ningi should be suspended for 12 months. 12 months. And that was by Senator Jimoh Ibrahim from Ondo State. He said they should suspend for 12 months. Another person said, let him go for 3 months. In fact, Jimoh Ibrahim said 12 months without pay, without benefits. Another person said 3 months, and the 3 months has been passed. Let's go for a break. We'll be right back to continue this conversation. Welcome back. It's still Punchline and it's still First News Nation TV. I'm still Sammy Ajufo. The conversation happening now, hot as it is hot, is Senator Abdul Ningi's suspension from the Senate for 3 months. And that is because he made a statement stating that the Senate had padded the budget. He came out in several fora to say he was misrepresented, not misquoted, and he was only saying two things. Number one, the senators didn't understand what were the provisions of the budget. They passed the budget, they never queried. Number two, he was questioning where 3 trillion naira went to. That 3 trillion naira was added. He didn't have any provisions. He didn't have his locations. He didn't have the expenditure details and all that. Well, the Senate has come out fighting back, and then he has been suspended. He is not alone in this suspension saga. Let's take you back since 1999 to senators who were suspended. Let's start from the year 2000. It was around that period of time where we had the third term agenda, and then we had Senator Joseph Waku in the year 2000, stating it was better that a military coup take place than President Olusegun Obasanjo to be allowed to continue as a dictator. He was suspended for making that statement. For how long? We don't really know. Moving on, Senator Arthur Nzeri, late Senator Arthur Nzeri. By the way, Senator Joseph Waku is also late. Arthur Nzeri was suspended by the Senate President, Paris Ayim, who went over to become a Secretary to the Government of the Federation. He was suspended for an alleged 22 million naira fraud by the Senate president, and he was suspended in 2002. His suspension was indefinite suspension. We never knew if he returned to the Senate. His own peers suspended him. In the next suspension was in the year 2017. Ali Ndume, who is still a senator today, was suspended for 6 months by the Senate for alleging that Senator Dino Melaye forged his certificate. He also accused the Senate president then, Bukola Saraki, of witch hunting the then Comptroller General of Customs, Colonel Hamid Ali, because it was an alleged seizing of a bulletproof car that was owned by the Senate president, by the customs, and then Senator Ali Ndume was suspended for 6 months. Now, the latest one before that was Senator Ovie Omagege, who later became Deputy Senate President and contested for Delta State Governor under the platform of the APC. He was suspended because he was pushing against an election reordering bill. Funny enough, not too long within that same period, we had when the mace of the Senate was taken away. And he was accused for taking or masterminding that. So the question of whether he was suspended because of that is another kettle of fish entirely. And recently, Senator Abdul Ningi from Bauchi State was suspended for 3 months. The harshest suspension has been Senator Arthur Nzeribe, 2002, suspended indefinitely. Now let's move back into the conversation about Senator Abdul Ningi, and a lot of questions will arise about this. Now, where did Senator Ningi get his facts from? Bear in mind, he was speaking, I don't know whether under the cloak of being the chairman of the Northern Senators Forum, and that was another conversation. Did every member of the Northern Senators Forum agree with that? From what we gather, there was a meeting, and some of the provisions made and disclosed by Senator Ningi were, to my understanding, a common discussion and a common agreement. But the agreement, according to what some senators revealed, was that there was no one who was supposed to go to the press. However, Ningi, the chairman of the Northern Senators Forum, went to the press. So the idea was not to go to the press, but they agreed with everything. So where did they get the 3 trillion naira padding allegation? Now, the budget co-founder, you know budget, right? They give analysis on economy, governance, e-governance, and all that. The co-founder, Shehu Onigbende, has said that while the Senate session was going on discussing the alleged 3 trillion naira padded, that they were looking through, their teams were investigating, and they couldn't find any truth to that. So somehow, it seems Senator Ningi was lying, and that's what is being alleged. In the Senate that day, members of the Northern Senators Forum denied their own chairman, and that led to something after Senator Ningi was suspended. So did someone set up the Bauchi senator? Because he was very confident in what he said, that there were monies that were missing. They didn't know where it was and how it could be accounted for. But it's not the first time in Nigeria we had budget being padded. The conversation about padding budget is not today. It's been there since President Jonathan's era. So did somebody set up? But I saw the confidence in Senator Ningi, which proves that somehow it was true. And it seems to be there's a conspiracy to cover up something, because the Tinubu administration has been bedeviled with allegations of fraud left, right, and center. So someone is probably trying to cover up something. Even the Senate minority leader, who is also from the PDP, from Benue State, Senator Abba Moro, says there is an integrity issue with the Senate. Even stated and re-echoed by someone we all know and respect, Senator Adams Oshomole from Edo State. He said the Senate is facing an integrity crisis. He said that loosely translated. Now, Senator Ningi, after he was being suspended, and he walked out of the Senate chambers. Immediately, he sent a letter to the Northern Governors Forum Secretary and said he's resigning as chairman of the Northern Governors Forum, Northern Senators Forum, forgive me, because it was a great embarrassment. Every of his members went against him. Not one person stood in his favor. They denied him in the Senate. You could see some videos of the Northern Senators claiming they didn't know what he was saying, and even Senator representing Ekiti Central, I'm talking about Senator Okwemi Bamidele said that Ningi's allegations was a conspiracy and an attempted coup against the Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio. He was trying to incite the Northern Senators Forum against Godswill Akpabio to ouster him from the Senate's presidency seat. It's that bad. It was to, I believe, to some APC senators, it was an insult that is coming even from a PDP senator. And that's the problem. However, from what we've heard recently, there's a meeting between the leadership of the Senate and the president to discuss the Ningi matter. Are they going to go further with that, or are they going to try and recall him? Some senators said, let's ask him to apologize and they will recall him. But I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. So as it stands today, I have many questions to ask, but I seem to believe that somehow this story is true. There's some monies that have been padded in the budget. If Bayo Onanuga could come out and say that 1.2 trillion naira was added by the lawmakers, and the lawmakers have not replied Bayo Onanuga, the next thing they did was to suspend their own colleague. There are so many questions to ask, and so many conspiracies are mounting from this. The 2 or 3 trillion naira, is it real? Questions. Budget has said they had not found that out. But Abdul Ningi, confidently, in the face of several media organizations, Arise TV and other TV stations, had stated clearly that there were monies that were unaccounted for in the 2024 budget. Then another angle to this, before we go, is that the conversation seemed to steer towards the allegations that President Tinubu was running 2 budgets. So some kind of distractive methods were being approached. And we need to ask ourselves a question. The Senate will be bedeviled with more questions about that. It will be bedeviled with questions about integrity, financial appropriations, and everything. And we're going to see more in the near future. Now it's not about Ali Ndume. It's about Abdul Ningi. It's also looking like it's a North versus South thing. But no, we are seeing the rot in the Senate make its ugly head public. If you have comments about this, please drop them in the comment section below. This is not a matter that will be swept under the carpet. We believe that somehow more and more revelations will be made, and we'll be bringing that to you here on First News Nation. I am Sammy Ajufo on behalf of the entire production team. Do your best to stay safe.